So I wanted to vlog today. I didn't want to vlog today. Today I want to vlog about sitting in a darkened room, hiding from myself, while at the same time vlogging about exposure and vulnerability. And I'm in this space, just some backstory to this is that I'm in this place right now where I'm really fucking lucky. Like, I'm in the place I always wanted to be in, where I'm working on my second book. No, I'm not working on my second book. I've written my second book, and there's some overhauls to be done, and I'm doing them, and they're due in for November, and the book's going to be published next year. Is due to be published next year, and yeah, I'm really being drawn into this experience of seeing myself in my work and seeing my femalehood in my work and seeing my vulnerability in my work, and just thoughts are coming up like part of me wants to just like run around, like, part of me feels like I just, my whole, since I've been blogging, since I was a guest blogger in since like 2007 or something for the F word until now, when we're talking like, writing the book I've always wanted to write and it being due for publication, since that whole amazing like line of whatever has happened, line of whatever. Read my work. That's the best I could come up with. Line of whatever. Um, since that whole thing has been happening, I've been more and more comfortable being vulnerable, like, or at least appearing to be vulnerable, being semi-vulnerable in my work. And so I'm staring today, like I have this day, like I've got to get this done, but I'm really enjoying it at the same time. And I open up, the manuscript, and I just see myself. Um, and there's reasons for that. That invites a reaction. I think I feel quite moved. I feel quite raw, um, and it feels wonderful at the same time. I mustn't. That doesn't negate how wonderful it feels. Um, but it reminded me of something that something that I can most feel. I can most remember that happening with. Is when I really saw myself, or felt compelled to just like get it down. Was I wrote two times. One was I wrote about having a cervical sweep. I was pregnant with my first child, and he was not on time, and like they were like, "Get you on the cervical sweep." I was like, "That sounds really gentle." And then I wrote about how actually that whole process really, because as a woman who writes about things like sex and masturbation and stuff, like there's this two-person thing where like I would never usually go up to someone and say, "Oh, I think female masturbation is like we should talk more about that," because that's a great thing. Like we should talk about it and blah blah blah. And then the other side where like I write about how it's important not to call it female masturbation, not to blah blah. And or like I'll write about awkward sexual experiences and stuff, and being a girl and things like that. And not just awkward, actually. That's really a really really rubbish adjective to use. Like really quite transformative. And anyway, so I wrote about having this cervical sweep and how it brought up a lot of stuff, and I wrote that in catharsis, and that's the theme for me. Like if I write something deeply personal, I tend to do that in catharsis, and catharsis can be brought on by it can be manufactured. I can definitely manufacture some catharsis for sure. Um, by like, for example, when I write, I tend to not eat for a couple of hours before it because I find my mind is a lot clearer if my body's not working to like process stuff, or maybe I'll have had little sleep, or maybe I've had times where I was writing this book and I had a couple of muses in my head, like just people who were really setting some stuff off, like not like in a good way. I mean, friends who particularly at that time were setting some stuff off in my head, and and they were, although they'll never know, they were quite influential in that catharsis, or maybe they'd help me open up something. And then So that was one of the things I wrote about, that I really saw myself and felt that the surge of sort of vulnerability and also, yeah, vulnerability and just deep femalehood, like deep honesty about my femalehood. And then the second thing I wrote about was addiction recovery, and I touched on that. Well, I didn't. I wrote a piece about it, a personal narrative piece, because I sort of felt it was the last piece of the jigsaw. Like I'd written about eating disorders, I'd written about body dysmorphia, I'd written about I'd written about sexual trauma, stuff like that, and then it was like the last piece of the jigsaw was to kind of be was to be open about that, and I did it, and so then I read that back, and I could see, I could see a person who kind of reflected back, like self-reflected back, but it was still that the lid and the tub thing. It's like the lid, like it's like, and anyway, so what happened with both of those things was I got an amazing response, like, and that I'll find that sometimes when I write something in catharsis that is honest, and is sometimes taboo, or the stuff that like you might write down to yourself but you would never say out loud, that kind of stuff is usually, and sometimes I dress it out with a bit of humor and give the happy-go-lucky thing a shot, and but that tends to invite a response. And with those two, I got messages saying like, oh, I felt the same thing, and when this happened to me, this, and then this triggered off this, and there's parts of me that like, I see myself that I have acknowledged in print, and then I've forgotten that. I completely forget that I acknowledged that, and then someone will say to me like, oh, but when you wrote about this and like that, really, I really identify with that, and I'm like, did I write about that? What, oh my god, what was I thinking? And that's a true story. Like people will say, oh yeah, when I read this, and I'll think, oh my god, what was I doing writing about that? Like, oh my god, I've got to face people. What am I? No, and then but it's completely academic because it's done. Um, and so as the time's gone on, I've become a lot more comfortable being vulnerable and raw. So this book, editing it today, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the stuff I'm writing about, and I'm like, God, I wrote that in some serious catharsis, like, and I don't use alcohol or drugs either, which is like which is fantastic in itself. But it means the catharsis is actually quite a lot rawer. Like I used to write when I was a student, I used to write in serious, like, off my face, and I'd think, well, this is profound, and I'd read it back, and it'd be like complete shite. And so I write in a catharsis that's actually quite raw, like quite a sincere catharsis. And but today I'm looking at the stuff and I'm just like, you know what I want to do? I just want to get in this room, in my study, get in this room, get dark. I even had a hat which I've put over there. I thought I'll wear a hat, just to kind of give myself extra protection from something. And but it made me think about this thing where people say to me like, okay, you're really honest, and it's like, yeah, I am honest, but don't, I'm not that honest. Like for example, I will never write about someone else like without their consent, or if there's something going on for me that will implicate someone else. Like in other words, if someone's sharing something with me and then I'm, kind of passively trying to kind of passively, I wouldn't like if someone told me their deepest secret, I wouldn't then blog about it, but just removing the name, I just wouldn't even acknowledge it. And so there's some responsibility, I think, that goes with being a sort of a reflective personal writer. Um, but the other thing is, like, a lot of people say to me, like, oh, I'm going to write a book, I really want to write a book. And how did you do it? And it's like, just fucking did it. I think once you drop the ego of, I don't mean ego like as in everyone's pure into themselves or whatever, but once you drop that version of you that you think is you, it's easy. Once I stop thinking, what will someone think when they read that I've written about masturbation? No one cares. I mean, ultimately, don't like it, don't follow me, has been my experience. Um, what will someone think if I write about, that time I was raped, or that time I, punch someone in the face, or like that hideous secret that I'm carrying around, or the way I'm feeling, I'm not happy. What will people think if I write about that? And it's like, I don't know. I don't know what people will think, but it doesn't matter. That isn't that the message? Like, doesn't matter. I think it stopped mattering to me. And then but the contrast is that today I'm feeling it matters. And that's why I want to hide. I'm having a moment where I think, God, that matters, or I think, what if that matters? Um, I just think, my experience has been, if you want to create something, just do it. Get as cathartic as you can, but while still being safe. I don't advocate getting off your face, because apart from anything else, like some shit poetry and prose and stuff comes out of getting off your face. I really think very little actual creative integrity comes out of being off your face. But I think when you start on a process of kind of explicitly acknowledging that you are going to try and create something that matters, you will find that naturally that obsession with how am I perceived, what if they hate me, what if my mum reads this, that will all just dissipate. And then some days it won't. Like today, you'll think, fuck, you know, and then it'll pass, and you'll feel really fucking amazing for having just done it. If nobody reads it, fine. If loads of people read it, fine. They love it, fine. They hate it, fine. I don't have a concluding message other than just thanks for giving me this opportunity to hide while also creating a vlog for YouTube. Buy my new book when it comes out. I promise I've been at least partly honest. No, I'm only joking. I've been really honest, actually. Yeah. Get some catharsis going, and have a good day.